Uh, After all that happened this week alone, what else can I say except the doom is on a steady rise. Darkness is approaching, and as it seems, there's absolutely nothing that we could do about that. Welcome back to Radio SMP. Well, I'm sorry if I seem a bit less energetic than usual. I mean, what else could I be after all that happened? I mean, let's start from the beginning. On the 25th of April, last week, Saturday, right after the broadcast ended, the Red Banquet started. There were many guests attending. Aside of the officially invited Awesome Dude, Captain Puffy, our beloved Monarch Aerith, and Foolish Gamers, also were attending Hannah X Rose, Fundy, H-Bomb, Yoooo, and surprisingly, George Not Found, who admittedly, unsurprisingly, slept in and came a little too late. I'm sorry, I'll get back into the... Just give me a moment. Alright. The festivities began greatly and with much joy, surprisingly. It was talked about a lot. DJ H-Bomb put on some of his absolute hits, as I heard. And at the same time continued to traumatize one fox and most definitely a little totem of undying, a sharky little totem of undying. So much so that bystanders say that Captain Puffy herself had to step in and save her son. At least something positive came of it, I guess. Well, the festivities were going great. Everyone had fun. It was a peaceful moment, and a great way for the Agpire to could have had turned over a new leaf. After everyone arrived, it was time for the big feast. Everyone was seated at the big table, and the guests of honor, an exception of Sam, gave a little speech as to that it was great, that the Agpire wanted to turn over a new leaf, bury the hatchet, yada yada yada, what they said. And even Punk gave a speech, probably instead of Sam, given that we have seen what happened. I'm gonna touch on that later, though. That's tea to spill for another time, not right now. But after the speeches were given, the main host, Bad Boy Halo, wanted to give one last toast before the feast could start. Said toast was about all that was said before 1,000 times. And just to show how little words mean, lava was set free around the table, casing in all the guests and trapping them successfully with the egg. I said it last week, and I'll say it again. I knew it was such a bad juju. I know, as we all would have loved for it to be peaceful and be good and be pure and innocent and just fun. Of course it had to end in disaster. Of course it had. Of course. But, dear listeners, this is not the only thing. As it was entrapped, the only thing the Agpire had to say was that in order for the egg to hatch, it needed life energy. Now, where do you think life energy comes from? If you've guessed a player, then you're right. So in order to feed the egg the life energy it needed to hatch, to or whatever it is this egg does. They have started picking an order on how they would get every guest that has attended, starting, of course, with the guests of honor, and just brutally massacring them in front of the egg so it could absorb its power as soon as it left the body. And that apparently is the real reason why it was called the Red Banquet. Not because the whole theme of the egg is crimson and red, and no, because it was apparently there was also a spy beneath the guests. As Hannah rose up and, well, stood beside the egg pyre. In her defense, it's because of the egg. Non-valid if you ask me, but that's a different thing, I guess. Because you see, as it turned out, Awesome Dude, Captain Puffy, and Foolish Gamers already expected something like that, and just in case something like that would happen, they thought that those four, said three before, and Hannah Rose would, like, for example, hide some armory and weapons just to be safe, that in case anything would go wrong. It did go wrong. It did go terribly wrong. Because Hannah told the egg pyre, told Bad and Ant and Punk about this armor/weapon chest, just so that they could use it to kill the others. But apparently, we're not done yet with the plot twists. I'm sorry, listeners. Hang in there. Because, Inception style, Awesome Dude and Captain Puffy have been kind of thinking that Hannah Rose might be a spy, might be a traitor, so they have installed and thought of another trap, maybe to get rid of the egg entirely. And this trap consisted of a whole chunk load of TNT being dropped onto the egg, but apparently this thing is so powerful that it just withstood it. It just turned into freaking obsidian. Like, on the spot. It as the TNT exploded on it, the egg itself and everything around it just turned into obsidian to protect itself, and then turned back unharmed. And after this demonstration of power, the first sacrifice was called to the pedestal. I'm sorry, listeners. If you were here for a bit of a longer time, you might know that. Okay, let's get the cat out of the bag. I might have like a little tiny bit, just tiny little. It's just a celebrity crush, okay? It's just a celebrity crush because I know I would never, but you know, it still hurts. Because, listeners, if you believe it or not, our beloved monarch, such a queen slain at that time, might I say, because the dress was just so perfectly fitting her, and they were so... I should stop. I'm sorry. That's the only positive thing I can think of that evening. Back to reality. I mean, back to the event. I mean, you know what I mean. King Arid was taken by the Empire up to the pedestal. But just as they were about to put the sword to use and sacrifice King Arid, Foolish Gamers stepped in and saved their life by leaving his own. My deepest regards go out to, of course, King Arid themselves. They lost a friend. All lost a friend that evening. But mostly to Captain Puffy. Because it's never a great thing to see your child being slaughtered right in front of you by the people who you thought you could trust, by those people that you thought you could trust who were your friends, but apparently not. But sweet irony and karma like to come hand in hand. And so it happened that the price to pay was one life for another. Host and member of the Empire Antfrost also lost one of his canon lives that evening too, Captain Puffy. Again, my regards go out to her, especially. And listeners, we're not even at the end at this point, because lo and behold, just as stuff were about to go down. Let's put it that way, okay? As soon as stuff were about to go down, hence the one life for another thing, someone special showed up, uninvited, to rescue those who were trapped. Big Q, Quackity himself, came down, broke in, and challenged the Empire, and especially Bad Boy Halo. And as Bad Boy Halo taunted him that if he wanted to come here to take the egg down, he should have brought an army with him. And the only thing that Quackity did in response to it was grin and say, "But I did. I even have something better than an army. I have brought my worst enemy with me." And just as he finished this quote, Technoblade, the Blade himself, emerged from the broken opening with a good portion of his Hound army. But that was not enough, as everybody was in shock, and Quacky gave his big speech about how he had enough of it, and Techno just silently agreed that it was going too far. Quackity said, "Oh, and just so you know, of course it isn't just me and Technoblade, because bringing 2 people wouldn't be enough. No, because just as Quackity was going around and giving Awesome Dude and Captain Puffy a weapon as they suddenly emerged one from nowhere, Purpled showed up. So with the words of, "I have got the 2 best PvPers on the server with me to take that effing," of course I'm censoring it, "thing down," the Empire, after losing Antfrost, started to retreat, and fortunately haven't been seen ever since then. On further discussion, Awesome Dude decided to take the egg into custody, if you will, and he put the egg into containment so they could study and maybe one day destroy it. And as for the current whereabouts of the known Empire, since we apparently can't even trust our own friends, we're talking about Bad Boy Halo, Skeppy, Punk, Antfrost, Hannah Rose, and Puns. They're currently unknown, but it is speculated that they've gathered and went into hiding for now. Listeners, please be careful. Don't trust any crimson blood egg that whispers sweet nothings into your ear. It might show you a paradise of any sort, but could also, show you hell and tell you that's where you end up if you don't cooperate with. I don't have a clue, but be wary, be on guard, watch out for you and your friends too. Just because you can't trust them anymore does not mean that you shouldn't watch out for them as well. I think I'm gonna leave you all, after such a long beginner story, for a little break.
I stare into the void, you stare back. The memories of a man I try to forget. I wanted to forget you. Why is it always me, the one who's left behind, alone in my own thoughts and lost in my own mind? I'm lost in my own mind. I don't know how to close my eyes and fall asleep. I just wanna know what it takes to escape this dream. You don't wanna know, you never wanna see. This place may not be real, but there's terror in your sleep. An oracle of sorts, your future's in your dreams. Wake up while you still can, please try to fall asleep. I don't know how to close my eyes and fall asleep. Part of me wants to never ever escape this dream. Wake up, you don't remember. Wake up.
Welcome back, listeners. You've just listened to Wake Up by Seiggel, I think. Seiggel? I'm sorry if I'm butchering the name again. And yeah, I think I should retouch a bit on what I've said earlier about the Punk giving a speech instead of Sam. We all know that Punk and Sam were kind of like the go-to couple when it came to things like a healthy relationship, a loving relationship, forgiveness, communication, and all in all, closeness, which is why it came to such a surprise when Punk started avoiding Sam, let's start from the beginning there. Just as last week? Before that, I think 2 weeks ago, when it happened that Punk tried to prank Sam a little bit, and it got horridly wrong, to the point where Punk lost an arm, and had been avoiding Sam ever since then. Respectively and understandably, of course. If there's something toxic in your life, get it out of there. It doesn't matter how much you love that person. If they're toxic and they're harming you in such a way, especially in such a way, then get out of there. And as it seems, Sam does show remorse. But that does not mean that he's in any way, shape, or form innocent. Of course not. Of course it got leaked, So, at the banquet, Punk, instead of Sam, gave a little speech. Sam didn't. But Pong said something about people changing like the tides in the ocean, referencing probably a little something that we all know. And throwing him something that couldn't be quite caught by bystanders, by other guests, what it was. Some say it was a gas tear, some say it was a ring, some say it was a drink that he splashed him into the lap. But, of course, I can't tell you exactly because I wasn't there. And I think for the first time I say, thank goodness I wasn't there. I guess that just goes to show that even the most beautiful things will someday have an end. I'm sorry, but why is this episode so sad? I mean, of course, of all the things that happened, but why did so many bad things happen? I mean, of course, we need the bad things to appreciate the good things, but still. I mean, and it doesn't get any better because a frantic Tommy, without anything, was seen walking around with Rambo and Turbo on the server, on the greater Dream SMP, pendling between his guard tower and I think he was seen at the museum. I think after everything that happened, King Everett helped him something. It was something about fighting his trauma, which I would only recommend if you feel ready for it. You should never pressure yourself to do so. But, yeah. Tommy was seen actively locking himself into the final control room back from the first war on the Dream SMP. When everything was so simple. I miss those times. Well, 2 days later, Ghostbur was seen going into the prison. He was seen entering, but he never came out. Instead, witnesses say that Tubbo and Ranbu waited at the gates of the prison and left as Tommy came out, with a face paler than usual, and other witnesses say that he was muttering that Ghostbur will never come back and he revived him. Whatever that's supposed to mean, but from past experience, listeners, I think Wilbur Soot is back. I've told you so. I'm sorry, just turned the page. It was next information note. Next story, Wilbur Soot. Not Ghostbur, Wilbur Soot. The one who, blew up Blamamberg and got killed by Filza. He is back. He was seen running around old Lamamberg, smiling and from time to time maniacally laughing that it was so great to see what he has done. Giggling to himself that he can't wait to plan new things. Listeners, I am very afraid of what's going to happen. You know what? I'm just gonna relieve you for this week. I'm gonna take, for now, a little break. I don't know, watch a movie with Arena, or I think I really want to visit my parents again. And all in all, I will dig deep. I will try as best as I can to get some more cheered up news, like distracting news, maybe something along those lines for next week. I will try my best. I don't know. Turn around every rock I can find 2 times. But Until then, the only thing I can say is that's it for this week. Tune in next time. Until then, you've been listening to Radio SMP. I am your host, Adrian, and I bid you all a farewell. And please take care of yourselves, dear listeners.